So I'm working on the van today, and this one shouldn't be too difficult either. It is the Sterling to battery charger. So what that does is it allows the starter battery or the alternator, when the engine is on, it charges up the batteries in the back for my lights, for the fridge, for the water heater, my electrical system. So it's an important one to have when we're traveling, because we do a lot of driving, and with that driving we can charge up the batteries. Worked for 6 months straight with no issues, and all of a sudden just stopped working. So I got to figure out what's wrong with it, and I have already kind of messed with it, and I checked the voltage, and the voltage completely fine. There was one other time this stopped working, and all I did was reset the breaker, and then it was fine again. But this time that didn't work. And what I think it is that I have a bad ground, or when I was putting it in, installing it, I was following an online source, like somebody that's done it before, and they said to put the negative to a ground in the van, so just like a bare portion of the van, you just attach to there. But actually in the manual it says you're supposed to actually run it to the battery, just like the positive. So the positive and the negative should both run to the starter battery. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I think I should do. Just run the negative straight to the battery, just exactly where the positive is, and I think that should fix it. So let's try it out, see what happens.
And while Taka finishes fixing the van, I'll give you guys a little bit of a garden tour, since so many of you have been asking. I start all my seedlings indoors just because there's a lot of bugs and rodents outside that tend to kill off my baby seedlings. And the reason there is rope with a glass of water right there is because I've made this like a self-watering system. That way when we're gone, my plants are still getting plenty of water. And I have these lights here. Sorry for the mess in the back. This is the office space. But yeah, I have these lights here, and they are also in a timer mode. So they'll turn on for 12 hours at the same time every day. The ropes are dipped in the water, and from the water they go into the soil, and they kind of make like a U shape around the container. That way it keeps it nice and evenly moist. And this is what I do if we're going to leave for a few days. And this week I'm pretty much starting the hardening off process. So I slowly take them out each day for about an hour, 2 hours, and then each day a little more and a little more until they spend their first night outside. And once I feel like they're used to the outdoors, I'll go ahead and plant them. It's actually sprinkling a little bit, so we'll have to save this part for a little later. I'm just going to go make lunch since I don't want the camera to get wet.
Well, lunch is over. Let's get back to work. Alright guys, we actually got it working now. You can see right there, you see the 30 amps on there. Battery's going up. So it's working, but actually I just ditched the Sterling battery charger and then installed a new battery to battery charger, which is the Victron Orion. That right there is the old one, initial one that I've been using. And then I just figured, you know what, it just wasn't working, so I just switched it out. I bought this one, switched it out, and put that one in. It's not installed yet, but I just wanted to connect the wires and see if it would work. And yep, it's working now. So I'm gonna swap it out. And what I recommend, if you are installing one of these battery to battery chargers, get the Victron one, Orion battery to battery charger. And I have the 30 amp one, and yeah, just get that one. It's much smarter. Sterling one just seems a little older. You can't really tell what's going on with it. And the Victron one, you can just look in the app and see what's going on, and you can put all the settings on the app. You don't have to hold down the button for 20 seconds like the Sterling one. So yeah, just use the Victron. But you know what, I'm just gonna get it installed and we're done. Actually, no, we're not done, because while I was doing this, I just tried to turn the lights on overhead, and for some reason the lights went out. Look at this. Okay, so this light right here, you see right here, this one is controlled by that there. This one works. All of a sudden this one, which was working all this time, does not work anymore. You can hear the sound, but the lights are not turning on. And it's on a dimmer, but I can't even raise it or anything. It's not working up. I'll have to figure that out now. Right, shouldn't be hard though.
So it's actually the next day. We got pretty busy and the van is fixed though. We have the tulips here and I just really love tulips. Maybe it's a waste of space to be growing flowers instead of food, but I like them. And I just have them covered with a net because the squirrels love to dig, and just kind of having them lightly covered like this seems to do the job. And you can already see there's a lot of tulips coming already. One's like a peach colored tulip. I don't actually remember what the second tulip is. I should honestly start labeling things, but I always tell myself that I'll remember what I bought. So there have been some wins and some losses in the garden since we're not here all the time. It means if something's going wrong or if there's a pest, I won't notice until we're back. And by then sometimes the damage can be pretty bad. And one of the biggest pests this year have been slugs and rats. They weren't really a huge issue previous years, so I never really noticed them. So for the slugs, I use a lot of diatomaceous earth, slug pellets, and the slug spray, and a lot of picking them off by hand. And the other huge issue that is still kind of a problem, rats. And it took me a little while to figure out that it was the rats because I kind of just blamed the squirrels. And for once, they were not the culprit. It was basically happening overnight, but I just kind of assumed the squirrels are super active in the morning. So I'll wake up and look out the window and there's just a ton of squirrels in the backyard. So I just kind of assumed that it was them eating everything in the morning. One of my cabbages, it was like my most beautiful cabbage. I was so excited to grow the perfect cabbage. And then one morning I woke up and it was eaten. It was just pretty much 2/3 of it gone, chewed up. And then once my plants started getting eaten inside of my fenced in area, I knew, okay, this is definitely not squirrels because I have never seen them climb it, dig it. They have zero interest in getting into the fenced area. So then I put rat traps and there's currently a dead rat here, so I'm just waiting for Taku to come and toss it. Taku's here to clean up the rat.
Clean up her mess.
What a gentleman. I won't show that because it's kind of gross. And these dumb rats have eaten pretty much all of my cilantro and all of my spinach and lettuce. That has been their favorite, especially the cilantro, which is very upsetting. This is one of the few surviving cilantros, and it was actually a lot bigger, but the rats got to it. So you can kind of see all the stems, and I was about ready to harvest it when the rats came. And recently I've just been kind of using it as bait. I'll usually set up a trap right there, and then it gets the rats. It's also kind of gross knowing there's rats in the garden. So I only planted one celery this year, but we don't eat like a whole package that you buy in store. So I was thinking like, I'll just plant one celery and then we can cut a stalk here, we can cut a stalk there. And it was growing really nicely. And unfortunately, you can kind of see they have damaged a lot of it. It was a lot bigger. They've chewed off quite a bit. This is one of the raised garden beds we have, and it's from Epic Gardening. And I think if we owned this place and if we were here permanently and if we weren't traveling so much, I would definitely invest in getting more of these, and definitely taller ones, because I think it would help a lot with squirrels and rats. Some of the successes in the garden though have been the cabbage. I think I probably got like a good 7 to 8 cabbages from the garden, Napa cabbage. I used a lot for kimchi and others for just cooking. My beets and my carrots got hit really hard. Usually my big issue with the beets are earwigs, but they only go for the beets when they're little babies, whereas the rats were actually going for the beets when they were full size. I did get a couple carrots and a couple beets, so it wasn't a complete loss, but yeah, the rats did a big damage to the garden this year. I get a lot of questions on how do I keep my garden alive when we're gone, and this is what I use. I can pretty much set the timer, how often, how long, when it starts. And this one I like because it actually has 2. One here, one there. So I'll use this one on the left side for about 15 to 20 minutes depending on how hot it is. So in the summer it's more like 20 minutes because I use a drip hose. And then this side is for the containers. And that's only on for about a minute because that's all they really need since I'm using these inside the containers. But if all goes well, our broccoli is doing really well. I think maybe this is the first broccoli I've grown. I've tried broccolini, but we always get this false spring here. And basically what that false spring is, we go from 50 degrees to 75. In the sun, it feels more like 80. It causes the broccolini to go to seed. I have heard in general that broccolini is kind of annoying to grow, and most people say it's not really worth it. So we'll see if I try again. Broccoli seems to be doing really well, so maybe I'll just stick to growing broccoli. My snap peas are doing really great. If you look real closely in here, you can start seeing the head of a yellow cauliflower starting to grow. I also have purple cauliflower. I think the rats or maybe something else ate a couple of the seedlings, so I think I only have 2 in the garden. This one here is my chamomile plant, and I tend to buy a lot of seeds, but for chamomile I think I should have just bought a plant because it grows like crazy. It is a weed. I have not planted a single seed since the very first plant, and my garden's always full of chamomile. Same thing with calendula. I bought a ton of seeds because I really love calendulas, but they also will grow like crazy. This is one of my younger kale. I actually had a really huge kale plant that I already harvested. It was like 2 years old, so it was starting to go to seed. And next to him is some bok choy. I have some choy seeds, both green and red, and I found the green ones grow very well, but the red ones you need to harvest when they're young because they go to seed so easily. But they're really pretty, so I keep planting them. And baby choy is actually really good anyways, so works out. And these are my Brussels sprouts, which looks like I'm gonna have to spray with some neem oil. They're getting eaten a little bit. It's fine. Neem oil works pretty good. So does diatomaceous earth. I put that on everything these days. I'm overwintering a lot of my chili peppers this year, or at least trying to. And this one I didn't cut back too much because it had a lot of chilies, and even though it's gotten pretty cold, it's still giving quite a few. Pretty excited to try this one. I saw it at the store and it was described as like a wasabi arugula kind of plant, but I forgot what it's actually called. This summer I'm planning to put some hay down so the soil can stay moist while we're gone. I think I might make some improvements to my watering system, and hopefully some plants will survive while we're gone. It's kind of funny knowing that we're gone for so long and I'm still trying to grow things in the summer anyways, just in case, you know. I think the only other update that we have for you guys is about ceramics. I've seen a couple questions if we're still throwing, if we're selling anything. We are still practicing, but since we're not always home, it does take a while to improve. So none of our pieces are really so amazing that I would want to sell them because they have like little problems here and there, but I'll show you guys some of the things that we've made, or more so me. Taku hasn't really been practicing as much. This is one of the things I am currently working on. It's a planter box for the windowsill. It still needs to get bisqued and painted, and I'm also going to be making a plate to go underneath, so when the water drains, it'll drain onto a plate. And I am planning to make one for the van as well. So this is some more stuff I've made. They're like little candles. Basically threw a bunch of cylinders, filled them up with candles, put some lavender and crystals. I made like a ton of cylinders because I just wanted to practice throwing that shape. So I have like, I don't know, maybe 30 candles now that I have no idea what I'm going to do with. I've just kind of been gifting them to people. But yeah, it's been a fun process. But a little bit of a slow process because I'm mostly just learning through YouTube. Mostly just like Googling the problems that I'm having and trying to figure it out. I might just take a private class just to see some improvement. But I think that's everything for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.